Wrestling with the Past, hosted by Jason Nupp. Join Jason as he reviews classic wrestling footage from the golden era of the WWF, when our biggest childhood fear was anyone from the dreaded Heenan family capturing the precious World Wrestling Federation gold from our red and yellow savior, Hulk Hogan. There were Rowdy Pipers, Snukas who superflied, animals with green tongues, Russian Volkovs, Sheiks of Iron, a demolition that could axe and smash things to bits. It was a glorious time to be alive. It was a time to rock and wrestle, when a video coliseum fulfilled our childhood world with excitement and wonder. And now, the host of Wrestling with the Past, give it up, give it up, give it up for Mr. Jason Nupp.
What's up, guy? What is up, guys? Jason Nupp, New Age Revolution down here in the cave. And I'm noticing by looking at this camera, this lighting down here is so weird. Like, I think it's time for a new camera. Like, this camera starts off orange. And then it lightens up. It's weird. And all I have up there are like bulbs. I don't know. I gotta do some lighting, right? I got lights. I bought lights. Look. I bought these things a long time ago. Right? When I was gonna be a social media influencer. But I don't like I gotta plug them in, and you're not watching the show for the light. You're not. You're watching it for the entertainment. Yeah. Many of you, all of you, are yearning. All right? A couple days ago, you were clamoring. Now many of you are yearning for round 3 of the My Favorite Wrestling Superstar Figure Tournament. And so, when people are yearning for something, you keep it from them. That's right. You hold back. In true heel fashion, you don't give the people what they want. No, indeed. You make them wait. Build the anticipation. So today, I'm going to catch you up. It's Wrestling with the Past. And I am going to catch you up to where I am, WWF 1984. And then we're going to do a weekly recap. I'll watch it week at a time. I won't watch it for a week. It might not be every 7 days. It might be shorter. It might be longer. But our next Wrestling with the Past episode is going to include a week's worth of shows from, I think I'm in October of 1984. So I'm going to catch you up, because when I went away, I kept watching. I watched I think we stopped in February. I think we stopped around February 84. That's not true. We stopped in June of 1984. The last Wrestling with the Past I did with you was middle of June 84. And the Tito Santana Greg Valentine feud was heating up. Iron Sheik and Sergeant Slaughter were in going around the horn, as they say, in boot camp matches. Tons of boot camp matches. And, Cyndi Lauper, all that stuff. Wendy Richter. And then I went away. And then I kept watching. So I've watched up to October of 1984. So, since I went away, here is the recap. Jimmy Snuka and Roddy Piper, that feud ended. It came in, and it came in like a lion and went out like a lamb, as they say. They had the matches, and then there was kind of a blow-off match where I think Snuka was probably away from the WWF for a while for some kinds of problems. And he was gone. So he's been gone since late summer, Jimmy Snuka. And the angle was that Piper broke his neck. And it was I think it was the pile driver on the concrete floor, and the house show that they did it at was really intense because they had Snuka carted off. So this was like one of the last Piper Snuka matches. I think it was MSG. I think it was Baltimore. I think it might have been the Cap Center. Snuka, bloodied him, as all of the Jimmy Snuka Roddy Piper matches were. It was always Snuka, bleeding. Well, anyway, Piper pile drive Snuka on the concrete, and I think maybe hit him with a chair, and Snuka was dead. And then he's carted out on a stretcher with the neck brace on, and then all throughout the card, all throughout the house show, the camera cuts to the back, and they basically show Snuka laid out on a table in the back with the medics attending to him, putting the cast, the neck brace on. I think they were checking his blood pressure, and he was just laying there, dead. And Gorilla Monsoon was, intense about it, and so that was that. And then Snuka went and did whatever rehabilitation he needed to do or take care of some legal issues. I don't know. But he's been gone. And so Piper's just filling in here and there, doing stuff, doing the Piper's Pit. And then during one of the Piper's Pits, the Tonga Kid comes out and gets in Piper's face. And Tonga Kid is... He's interesting. He's an interesting looking fella, and his communication he's not going to be cutting any promos in the WWF. I can tell you that, because all he does basically is scream at Piper. And I think he's is he legitimately 18 years old at this time? Because they keep telling us that he's 18. He's screaming in Piper's face, "I want you, Piper, I want you, Piper," and Roddy's trying his best to do his Roddy Piper thing. So basically, they bring the Tonga Kid in from a little bit of a jobber status, and they elevate him a little bit to avenge Jimmy Snuka. I don't think that I have heard them say that it's Jimmy Snuka's cousin yet. I don't think that. But where I'm at right now, in October '84, Piper agrees to a match with Tonga Kid on Championship Wrestling, but only if Tonga Kid defeats this masked guy, the Invader or the Assassin or something like that. So that's pretty cool. So I got a feeling Jimmy Snuka's coming back soon. Obviously, he'll be here for WrestleMania in March, but I also remember some tag team matches with Piper and Orton against Snuka and Tonga Kid from the Coliseum home videos. So that's coming. There is no mention of Cyndi Lauper. And don't forget, she's not done yet. MTV is not done being involved with the WWF. We've still got the War to Settle the Score, where we get to see Mr. T and all that. So we're going to get Captain Lou turning good soon. He's going to get an award from, I think he was working with multiple sclerosis or muscular dystrophy. And remember... I think Cyndi Lauper gets an award, Dave Wolf or whatever, and then Piper comes out and smashes the award over Lou's head and body slams Dave Wolf. And back at the time, the police were legitimately concerned about a riot, and so that was great. But we have no mention of Cyndi Lauper. We have no mention of Wendy Richter, the women's champion. We have no mention of Fabulous Moolah. They are all back for WrestleMania, but no mention of them at all. Sergeant Slaughter and the Iron Sheik are pretty much done one-on-one feuding. Nikolai Volkov has joined us, and he is they right away teamed him. He had some single stuff for about 2 weeks, and then they teamed him right up with Iron Sheik. And there was a pretty good match in Philly because the Junkyard Dog is in now, and he teamed up with Slaughter. It was Slaughter and JYD against Sheik and Volkov. And that was a very fun match because in Philly, I don't know what's going on in Philly, but Philly is the most insane crowd I've ever seen in these 80s house shows. and here I am thinking like, oh, everybody is so sophisticated and well behaved in the 80s, and we just sit and clap and, oh, it's a wonderful time. No, the Spectrum appeared to be a scary, scary place to be in the crowd. There are always fights in the crowd. There's always security guards running to another area, and then everybody turns and looks and watches whatever's going on. The crowd legitimately wants to jump the barrier and get involved many of the matches, especially Sheik and Volkov. I have never seen more things thrown into the ring during Nikolai Volkov's national anthem. It's terrifying. The Philly crowds are terrifying. Adonis and Murdoch are still your tag team champions, Adrian Adonis, Dick Murdoch. And all I have seen them... they brought the Briscoes in for one match in Madison Square Garden. I don't know if it's just one match, but they brought the Briscoes in out of the blue, randomly. They were in the NWA. I heard around this time, this had to do with the Black Friday deal, or Black Sunday, or whatever it was called. Black Saturday, I don't know. Some black day of the week, when WWF took over TBS's World Championship Wrestling time slot. And I think the Briscoes had something to do with that, or they sold part of something. I don't know. But the Briscoes are brought in to Madison Square Garden to take on Adonis and Murdoch. But other than that, all I am watching is Adonis and Murdoch take on the Samoans. That's all we're getting. We're getting, the Samoans versus... So it's Adonis and Murdoch versus the Samoans and Captain Lou. I think the Samoans might have teamed up with somebody. Slaughter. They teamed up with Slaughter again. Again, same thing against Murdoch. So that's the only tag team matches that I'm seeing with the champions. They're facing the Samoans, who are full-on good guys right now. Just full-on good guys. And if you're not watching it, like me, I didn't really remember that the Samoans turned good. I thought maybe there was some stuff with Lou Albano, and maybe they were kind of in between, tweeners, as they say. But no, they were full on face at this point. Samoan number 3 is not really with them. He's just kind of jobber role, or maybe nothing for at this time period. They are not doing 6-man Samoan matches when the Samoans are good, at least on TV. But the Samoans, Afa and Sika, are full-on good guys, coming out, working the crowd. They're doing the thing, and they're good guys. There's a singles match at Madison Square Garden in October. Afa and Murdoch, and we're going to talk about that because that's where I'll... maybe not. I don't know. We'll see. I might start our reviews with this one. But Afa takes on Dick Murdoch. And it's a comedy match before comedy matches were a thing. Dick Murdoch, and with the Samoans, all you have to do is, to get the crowd jumping, is play off their hard heads, right? The one of the first, racial ridiculousnesses of wrestling was, Samoans, black wrestlers, they have hard heads. Okay, so you can't hurt the Samoans by hitting them in the head. And so Dick Murdoch is constantly trying to punch the Samoan in the head, and then he sells the hand. And Dick Murdoch has the best facials in the world, and he does this thing where he's the Samoan will hit him with a headbutt, and then Dick Murdoch will kind of stand there and wobble, and then he'll take a swing at nothing, and then he'll just kind of fall forward on his, but not like a Greg Valentine fall forward, like I don't know, it's weird. He kind of sits down, he'll be swinging while he's falling backwards, and he just sits there, and he's just out of it. And Dick Murdoch is constantly spitting and drooling. He's got a Sergeant Slaughter spit thing going on, but it's hilarious. It's so funny. It's so great. Dick Murdoch staggering all over the ring, just selling the hard head of the Samoans. Greg Valentine is your Intercontinental Champion at this point. He has defeated Tito Santana. And something I forgot, it wasn't at a big televised house show. He beat him on an episode of Maple Leaf Wrestling, which is Canada's championship wrestling superstars equivalent. That's it. He beat him in a TV match. And they really pushed the leg injury. Valentine jumped Tito before the bell and hurt his leg. And then it was really a quick match after that. Valentine refuses to let up on the figure four. And so Valentine's our champion. And then we have these segments where Tito Santana is getting leg surgery. And I didn't look this up, all right? I didn't Google it. And call me, still a big mark, but I think Tito Santana had leg surgery during this period of time. Because the footage that they were showing of him like going to the I don't know, I kind of believed it. So did Tito Santana have leg surgery in, mid '84? Was he gone for a little while? They interviewed him on TNT after the surgery. He had the leg brace on. He had the crutches. And in the hospital footage, they actually wheel him into the operating room, put him out, and then there's some like surgery footage. Did they go through that? Did they go through all the, did they set all that up just to get it over on TV, or did he really have surgery? And then my favorite thing is he comes out of surgery and there's the interview with Tito, and he's groggy and he's got his his weird like sunglasses on where like when you come inside they get light and dark, so they're kind of in between dark and light. And he's sitting there, he's just groggy, and he's like, "Oh, Greg Valentine, I'll come back and get you and get my belt. I promise you that." And then at the end he goes, "Arriba," like with the most weakest "Arriba." And I remember as a kid, I had that on VHS, and I would rewind it a million times and just laugh because he keeps going, "Arriba, arriba." He's out of it. Great. We do know that at some point soon Santana gets the belt back, or maybe not. He gets it back, but I don't know. Yeah, he doesn't get it back before WrestleMania, and WrestleMania is in March. So Valentine keeps the title until WrestleMania. Tito gets it back after WrestleMania and then loses it to Savage. But is Valentine a 2-time Intercontinental? I don't know. We gotta wait and see. Andre and Kamala have a little feud going, and it seems to only be in Canada, because during the Maple Leaf Wrestling shows, when Kamala's wrestling, Andre comes out and walks around the ring and looks at him. When Andre's wrestling, which is rare, but when he does, Kamala comes out and messes with him. So they have a match, and it's kind of a swerve finish, and Andre's mad, and he wants to beat up the referee. I think Andre was disqualified or something. But then the blow-off is the steel cage match in Maple Leaf Gardens, separate from the 1-hour Maple Leaf Wrestling television show. We get a cage match, an Andre Kamala cage match from Maple Leaf Gardens, and it is so good. And you think, how is it so good? It is so good, right? It's so good. Andre sells the heck for Kamala. Andre sells a lot for Kamala. A lot. Andre's bleeding. Kamala's war paint is all off, sweated off. The cage is a 10-foot high steel cage, and I think they did this on purpose because Andre is really close to the top of the cage, right? So you look like, so for perspective, Andre looks like he could step over the cage. And then the Maple Leaf Gardens has that ramp that leads up to the ring. So when Andre's on the ramp, he almost really can step over the cage. It just looked good visually. It was cool to see, a smaller cage with a bigger guy in it. It was cool. But great match. Great fun match. I have a lot of Maple Leaf Wrestling from this period of time. So I have some weekly shows. So I have Championship Wrestling, Maple Leaf Wrestling at this point, house shows, and TNT. So that's usually my week. And Maple Leaf Wrestling is not that great at all. They seem to have enhancement talent that just are in Canada. There's a guy named Silent Brian Mackney, and his name is Silent because he's legitimately mute. He doesn't speak or hear, and so his name is Silent Brian. He's always on. Ted Grizzly is always on. I think he's a Canadian job guy. Nick DiCarlo, of course, is always on. He's definitely a Canadian job guy. And so, and it's an interest. Sometimes the ropes are all black. They're not red, white, and blue ropes, obviously, in Canada. But I don't think that the WWF was just red, white, and blue for the U.S. But in Canada, they're all black ropes. And they're not good. They're not good shows. They're not good shows. It's an interesting looking arena. It's a nice visual, but they're not good shows. And the announcers are garbage, really. Jack Reynolds and Angelo Mosca are the commentators for Maple Leaf Wrestling, and Angelo Mosca is horrible, and Jack Reynolds is horrible. Jack Reynolds keeps calling. He keeps saying. So he'll say, we'll be right back on the World Wrestling Federation. So he uses World Wrestling Federation almost as like a different kind of noun. Not the World Wrestling Federation or the World Wrestling Federation will be right back. He says, we'll be right back on the World Wrestling Federation. And I don't know what he means by that, but that's his thing. He's the only one that I've ever heard say it. And it wasn't a mistake because he says it every week, on the World Wrestling Federation. I don't know what that means. Piper's Pit is different in Canada. They actually have their own Piper's Pit segments, and the set is different. It's not as it's different. And it's fun to have Maple Leaf Wrestling, just to say I have it, but it's not that great. The Bulldogs are here. Bret Hart and Jim Neidhart are here. They are not teaming together. Actually, Jim Neidhart's not here yet. Bret Hart, Davey Boy Smith, and Dynamite Kid are here. They have just started putting the Bulldogs together, but not calling them the Bulldogs yet. And Bret Hart teamed, when Bret Hart was first coming in, he teamed with both Dynamite and Davey Boy. So they put those two together before, figuring out which direction to put them on their own. On Maple Leaf Gardens, Jack Reynolds constantly calls Davey Boy Smith Danny Boy Smith, and it drives me insane. Continues to call him Danny Boy Smith. Angelo Mosca is horrid. He's horrible. He's horrendous. I don't like Angelo Mosca. He's terrible. He is a terrible commentator. It's so hard to watch. Sorry to the Mosca family. Let's see. Tony Atlas is gone. Jimmy Snuka's gone, as I said. Don Morocco has not been seen in months and months. Probably since very early '84. Haven't seen Morocco. Once he lost the title to Tito, he took some time off. Took some significant time off. Beefcake is in. Brutus Beefcake is here. And his whole thing was he was looking for a manager. And so all the guys are clamoring for Beefer. They're all competing for Beefcake. And it's so silly because Arnold Skoland, was interested in Beefcake. Arnold Skoland's a face. Beefcake's a heel. Arnold Skoland had no chance of getting Beefcake. But Freddie Blassie, Mr. Fuji, Captain Lou, Bobby Heenan all want Brutus Beefcake. And instead of going with them, he introduces Luscious Johnny V as his manager, Luscious Johnny Valiant. Former WWF Tag Team Champion himself, Luscious Johnny Valiant. And he's bad. He's bad. He's a bad interview. He was on TNT at one point, and he was just rambling on. Bad. And you want your manager to be a good talker, and Johnny Valiant was bad. They're continuing to show Hillbilly Jim in the crowd. This has been going on for weeks now. The big Hillbilly's in the crowd. He's coming. We saw my favorite. It's just so good. And I saw it originally on a Coliseum home video, Hulkamania. Hulk Hogan training Mean Gene. Hulk Hogan training Mean Gene over like a 3-week period, a 3-segment period. Waking him up in the morning, drinking the eggs. There's a scene where Hogan actually drinks the 3 eggs, and I don't know how. I can't imagine that happening. But Hogan drinks the eggs. Then he pours Mean Gene the eggs. He cracks 2 eggs for Mean Gene. Hogan cracks 3. Hogan downs his, and he you can see it just moving down his throat. It's so disgusting. And Mean Gene is like, oh, I can't do it, Hulk. And then so Hulk takes Mean Gene's and puts those down too. Whoa, that the egg flavor in your mouth afterwards. Oh my God. Oh, kill me. But what they don't show on what I was watching was the reason that they were doing that was there was a match in Minnesota. Hogan teamed with Mean Gene to take on George Steele and Mr. Fuji. There is nothing about that match. It doesn't get talked about. It's never brought up. There's no angle set up. George Steele attacks Mean Gene. Nothing happens. But the reason that they were training Mean Gene, these segments, were to do this match. But they don't have the match on my shows. I don't hear anything about it. It was only on the Hulkamania Coliseum home video. It's wild. There's a segment with Brutus Beefcake. They showed it on TNT. Brutus Beefcake was at a male strip club, and he was the stripper. And so Johnny Valiant introduces him. There's all these ladies, all these like actresses standing around cheering, woo, 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 old ladies, young ladies, woo. And Johnny Valiant introduces Brutus Beefcake in this strip club kind of scene. And Beefcake comes out, and he's got the bow tie, and he's got the Brutus Beefcake trunks on, and he's got the armbands, and that's it. He's shirtless, and he dances for what seems like an hour to just, cheesy like, stock music. But his dancing is like so bad. It just like consists of strutting. He's just strutting around. It's so bad, and it's so bad. It's so bad. But for like 10 minutes, they do the Brutus Beefcake just dancing to music, and he's like thrusting oh my God. There's no rhythm. Like, I'm not even sure he was dancing to the same music that they were playing for the video. It can't be, because he was just so off. And then he takes his trunks off. His tights. He takes his tights off. He takes the Brutus Beefcake tights off, and he's got like a Speedo on, and he's still dancing. It still goes on for like 3 minutes. That was bad. It was just bad. And then when they, so that was shown on TNT, and then when they come back, like Vince McMahon is like red-faced, like he was cracking up during the whole thing. He had to have been. TNT is great. I still love TNT. They do such weird little skits. Like they had Junkyard Dog on, and so they did like a soul food segment, and so they brought in a couple of like cooks from one of the like a soul food restaurant wherever they filmed TNT in Baltimore, I think, or Maryland. So they like must have brought in a couple of cooks, and they brought in all their food. So they've got like this traditional soul food that McMahon and Lord Alfred Hayes are like, what is this? I've never seen this before. It's like sweet potatoes and black-eyed peas and just the real stereotypical black food or whatever, soul food, and ribs and collard greens and something called chitterlings, which is just like stomach lining of chickens, I think, or beef. I don't know. So they do that, and JYD's eating, he's putting hot sauce on it. It's just so over the top. And then Lord Alfred, proper Englishman, is like, oh my word, this is awful. But it's 1984, and it's comfortable. It's uncomfortable sometimes, but it's comforting sometimes. I don't know. Yeah. So that's, Dr. D's David Schultz is still there. I didn't look it up. I don't know when he smacks John Stossel and gets fired, but he's still there. And David Schultz is scary. I'm scared of Dr. D. I would be afraid to wrestle him as a job guy. He's rough. He's angry. He gets really mad at referees if they botch something. And there were a couple of matches where the referee botched a pinfall, and after the match, as they're cutting to break, like you can tell, he's going after the ref. He's screaming in the ref's face. It's crazy. Anyway, so that's that. That's catching you up. Barry Windham and Mike Rotundo are certainly on their way. My favorite tag team of this time. WrestleMania is coming. So around January or February, we start seeing some promos for WrestleMania, which I think was probably just going to be a big MSG house show, and then blew up. But that's all coming. So when I watch it, we'll do the updates. We'll do weekly updates. It won't be a half-hour show. I promise you. We'll keep them to 20 minutes. But that's it. That's the WWF from May, June to October 1984. That's the catch up, and we'll go forward from there. Hope you enjoyed. I'm a little dry. I need some water. Talk to you later. Good night now.